Okay, so welcome to Vantage Point Conversations. Today's episode is slightly different. It's a solo episode. Um, why? For a number of reasons. First of all, I usually do these as conversations with other people, and I'm very curious to ask questions about other people, find out about them, what they do, not necessarily exactly about their business, but the person behind the person that you may see. Um, and today's guest unfortunately had to reschedule, and should I actually hold myself accountable and stick to these 3 lives a week that I said? Gone back and forth, and I decided I would. I thought maybe it'd be useful to share some insights, some tips and tricks about what I've learned about business, about myself along the way, and if that's useful for other people. Now, I caveat the whole conversation in that everybody's unique. My way of doing things is, just my way, and I think that's the important message that should run throughout all this. You shouldn't think that the way that I've done things is right for you, but there might be some stuff in there that resonates. So I wanted to just take you on a little journey, and where I am today, what that means, the things that used to stress me, things that don't stress me, what's changed. Was that myself or the environment around me? So, for those of you who don't know me, my name's Colin Parsons. I basically agreed to myself nearly 7, 8 months ago that I would go live twice a week on LinkedIn. And that was just to have conversations with people. And it, it wasn't scary. I just didn't have a plan. And I I look back at my life now, and I look back to all of the things that worked or didn't work before. And it's easy to look back and see the things that worked, or join the dots and see connections and patterns and stuff like that. And there's at the time, I've taken business courses, read a ton of books, overthought things, thought I needed to go one way when I should be going another, misdirection, whole load of things along the way. So it's easy to look at maybe the progress that I've made in the last 8 months and ignore the things that came before that. But I believe that the lessons that are most impactful are the ones where things didn't quite work out right. So I come from a corporate background, worked in banks for a long time. Um, Always the good boy, always followed the rules, never really veered off the track. Um, and so I would suggest that I come across as average, no one that stands out, just someone that's doing the job. And I still think that way. I don't feel that there's an ego attached to what I do. I just enjoy doing it. And that's led me on a journey where today I've increased from 2 lives a week to 3 lives a week. Um, that seems to match with demand. I cannot explain to you why. Um, my gut feeling says that there is a call out there really for genuine conversations. And I align that with, you know, people saying that they like what I put out there. Um, and so I actually had this strange thought last week that I have created a business. And those words were quite difficult for me to say a little while ago, because what started out frustration, I was in between, well, I'd been let go. I was trying to create a consultancy to help leaders connect with their people. Nothing was really working. And I joined a marketing course, which was very helpful, but I didn't really have the right product or service to offer. As part of that, I basically, there was a young uh, lady in our group, Stefania, if you're watching this, basically, please take some credit, because you really sort of set me on my journey to doing LinkedIn Live. So part of that course was about basically going live once a week and talking to your audience, giving value, potentially having a guest on. Um, and that's quite a scary space to be on, especially if you dislike social media, dislike seeing yourself, or you're concerned about how you sound on video, etc. And that comes with a ton of insecurities. And during this time, Stefania was explaining, I said, well, why don't we just go live? I'll just interview you. And we did. And she felt good. And for me, it was a great moment. But what it actually revealed to me was that, oh, I could do this. And so I let go of that idea of being a consultant to help leaders connect with their people and started having lives. And strangely enough, along the way, I've had very little friction into progressing that. So suddenly, doors started opening up. My rejection rate was really quite low, and it continues to be low. There are people that have said no. They are very few and far between. Some people will say, oh, not right now, and come back to me. That's also okay. But I had this thought last week that I've created a business. Now, had you have asked me, I don't know, a month ago, I would have said no, because in my mind's eye, a business was something where you had a product and service, you created it, and then people bought into it, and they bought it, and they, in that exchange for money, and then you're successful and everything works out that way. And I think that vision I've had for a long time. And it's confusing in today's day and age because there's many people that are very good at business. I'm not taking that away from them, but we're all different. So they will explain to you how it's worked for them. And that's why I'm trying to caveat this with, this is not the way that I'm suggesting people do their business. I'm not saying this is right for everyone. It really probably isn't. Oh, sorry. I should say, if you are watching this, please put your questions in the comments. Nothing rude. I've been trolled a few times now, although they're quite funny to listen to. If there's anything anyone wants me to answer along the way, any questions, clarifications on any point, please just put them in the comments. I'll try and get to them. Sorry, I lost the train of thought. Yeah, I thought business needed to be a certain way, and I don't know if that's my interpretation of the world or how that was, but business has changed in my view for me, and to be honest, it really hasn't been stressful. Whereas if I look back to before I was doing these lives, everything felt heavy, and I've signed up for courses. I've done a ton of work on myself, and it just never quite aligned. So my first business idea. So years ago, I met this guy, Peter Dobson. He was my supervisor in one of the banks I worked for. Great guy, amazing mentor, gave me a lot of time. And he had this process modeling approach, which wasn't far from what I'd seen before or even tried to do. And I thought I could sell that to people with the intention of, I thought it's very useful for anyone that had a business, worked in a big company or any sort of company, just to basically streamline. And it was a way of doing something that works so easily well. And I thought, oh yeah, cool. You've got all these people online saying just sell what you know and, explain to people. And it didn't take off. I thought I needed website advertising. I thought I needed to be a certain way. Or I even thought that if I put something out there, people would come. And there is this thought amongst people that if you build something really good, then people will come. And what I've learned along the way is, yeah, people will come, but you have to show visibility. And I know some people might struggle with that. I think fortunate for myself, I don't have the huge insecurities I did as a kid. I always saw myself as a chubby kid, didn't really fit in, just again, average, didn't like what I looked like, thought I had big teeth. I wore glasses as a youngster, a whole load of insecurities, and that might resonate with people. But that story I was telling myself kind of lasted for a long time, the way that my voice was. But a series of things along the way um, actually changed that. And I don't necessarily care about looking at myself on camera. You know, it's really okay. People have said along the way they quite like my voice. It's quite calm, and it seems to work well. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. So these little signals along the way kind of go, okay, yeah, okay, maybe I'll try it. Um, and I was always fascinated by business, and I think the reality for me is that I wanted to go into business to prove to the world that I mattered and that I deserved a place in this world, because I genuinely didn't. Not that I was thinking about not being in this world, but just generally I was like, okay, like not an inconvenience, but who am I to matter? And I think I wanted to prove to the world, to my parents, to people around me, that I mattered. The reality is, I mattered anyway, but I just couldn't see it through other people's eyes. And I thought that chasing a business would give me some sort of credibility with the world. And so I think a lot of it stems from there. And I realized recently, I've been doing some work with one of the ladies from my lives, Victoria Brennan. She's given me some guidance. I've done her becoming the flow meditation. For me, it worked really well. And this is not about trying to sell you on anything, or the things that have worked for me. It's just, if you're listening to this on a whatever day you pick this up, it might land with you. And if it does, great. If it doesn't, cool, click off. I'm not trying to convince anyone. It just might land with someone at the right time. And if I don't put it out there, then it won't, for sure. So, but a lot of the work recently was about myself, and this work with Victoria was not about chasing something. It was about already knowing that it exists, and that seems like you're trying to fool yourself or give yourself a message. But I realized that the things that I were chasing was validation in this world, validation that I mattered. And I thought I would find that through business by being successful, earning money. And that was never going to be the case. And I'm glad that I realized this now, because by doing that, everything becomes heavy. And you think that you need to do everything, and everything then seems like that shiny object. And I've talked about this before, and you go, yeah, I'm going to need this because of this. I'm going to need a logo. I'm going to need this to be relevant. And the reality is you don't. What you need to do is start. And start what? Again, I'm not here to tell you what to do. Going live twice a week, 3 times a week. All it's given me is visibility. And that visibility is amazing. But beyond that, it's given me connections with people. It's allowed me to do something that I really enjoyed to do. It's have amazing guests on, talk to them, be curious, ask questions, open up my mind, and share that with other people. And I'm hugely grateful to those people, because they're giving me their time. And someone said to me the other day, when I reached out to them, they thought I was going to charge for my service. And it's really strange, because I thought people were going to charge me to actually ask them on. So it's strange how you can have these perceptions of the world. But unless you start asking people, inviting them into your world, you're never going to know. And that can be a very scary place. It can come from a place of worrying about rejection, etc. But for some reason, what I've landed into seems to align to me. I enjoy it very much. There's no heaviness that comes with this. But because of that, I actually started really small. And I think oftentimes we're sold, what's your big picture, what's your why? And I've signed up for that quite a few times in different ways, under different methods. But I never knew what my why was. And I think in the world that we live in today, there's almost endless possibilities. And so and because there's endless possibilities, you don't really know what to choose. It's like going to a restaurant and having a menu with like 50 pages. It's just too much. And so when the choice becomes too much, you kind of look over and see what someone else is doing, and you go, yeah, I'm going to order that. I'm going to do that. And that becomes quite confusing because there's always going to be someone that's going to tell you, okay, yeah, this is what I did. And that feels good. And it gives you some sort of feeling of momentum of, yeah, I'm going to do this. And and then you get this, well, I got this huge surge of a high. Yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put it all in. And, and for the people around me, that must be very frustrating as well because you go, yeah, yeah, it's almost like you're chasing the next big thing. And for me, that's happened a number of times, and I've tried a number of things, and I've thought that the next thing was the best thing. And people have tried to say to me, "Look, what's your why? Where are you going?" Um, and I always try to put something up there, put what I'm trying to get to. But I was very bad at doing this, and I'm bad at setting goals. Everyone says that goal setting is, the thing. You need to, set your 5-year goal. I don't know what my 5-year goal is. And the problem with that for me is that it stops me starting. And also that goal was often someone else's or based on some sort of monetary value. At some point, I am not kidding you, I said to myself, I need to earn £1 million a week. Like, that seems absolutely crazy just to say, for what? I don't want a lifestyle like that. I don't need that. I don't want the hassle that comes with that. Um, but that's just what my mind was doing. It just, soaking up all the outside perspectives of, all these people that will sell you the dream and say, yeah, you can absolutely do whatever you want. But that never took into consideration who I was. So I signed up for all those things. Now, I am not saying those things are a bad thing because they've allowed me to get to where I am today. And for those people that are, thinking about business, starting business, we always think that, okay, if we do this and get frustrating, it doesn't work out, that's a problem. But the reality is, looking back from where I am today in business, I realized that I've been able to cherry pick little pieces, just little nuggets of gold. And I go, oh, yeah, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. And they, at the time when I was doing these courses or whatever I've signed up for, mentoring, etc., that whole thing in itself didn't land with me. But now I'm like, oh, I've got this reference point. I'm going to try that. I'm going to try that. But really small. And I think that's one of the things that works for me very well. I don't know where I'm heading with this. I've got absolutely no idea. And that is really great. And it's uncomfortable for other people. It's uncomfortable to explain that to other people. So I just stop and I just go, yeah, I don't know where I'm going. Because people around you always want some confirmation that you're going in the right direction. And 100% honesty here, I've never made any money whatsoever from what I'm doing now. There is some feeling inside me which seems weird and, woo woo, that actually I know what I'm doing. And I don't. I'm following some sort of intuition that it's going to work out. I'm trusting in myself that something's going to work out. And to this point, from the day I started, it's amazing the doors that opened up. And when you think it has to be a certain way, then you exclude all of these other options. So, as something that happened to me recently, I thought, oh, well, how am I going to finance all of this? How am I going to do? How's this going to work? So I thought, oh yeah, I'm just going to win the lottery. So I was almost praying for a lottery win and focusing on that. And I shut all the doors to anything else. Now, luckily, I had someone like Victoria helping me out along the way. And, and you do need people around you that are going to support you and sort of say, oh, hang on a second, and not beat you up, but just sort of say, hang on, let's see if I can try and get you like a bit more on track. And I've stopped thinking about the lottery in that way. That's just one of many million things. And I don't want to close my mind off to that. And that's what's happened to me. Like the people along the way that have opened up themselves to come and talk to me, I could have never predicted that in the beginning. And if I'd have set this goal of I'm going to do this, then it would have never worked. It would have never have worked for me. And so I keep on just putting one foot in front of the other. Now, that can be super scary, especially when you have people around you, you have dependencies and people wanting to know, parents, friends, family, etc., all wanting maybe to project their ideas or thoughts about, what they would like for you. Maybe you need to provide them some security and you don't know, you can't give them an answer. Um, and that's hard, especially when you're just trying to figure stuff out. And for me, I found myself trying to justify what I was doing, and um, and from a place where I always felt that I needed to justify my actions, to switch to just being okay with myself was an amazing leap. Not something that I did overnight, but I go, okay, I'm going to try and do it. And all of these things happened in small steps. I didn't wake up one day and go, yep, I've got it all figured out. I still don't. But amazingly, when you keep going, and you have to keep going, when no one's cheering you, just following the thing that you feel is right, then doors start opening. People come into your life at the right time. Absolutely, at the beginning, would I have loved those people to have shown up? Yes. I even outsourced my thinking. I was thinking about going to a psychic and saying, look, could you just tell me what this is going to look like? Can you tell me I'm going to be successful? Can you tell me that I'm on the right track? Can you tell me what this is all going to work out to be? And I was outsourcing it. And to be honest, I don't want to do that anymore. Um, and and so I don't do that anymore. I just go, right, I'm just going to stick on what feels good. And so upping the lives from 2 to 3 a week felt good. I'm still experimenting with it. I'm not saying that I won't go back down to two. If there's a if it goes back down to two, there's a reason. Is it energy? Is it the designing of my life? Does it fit around things? Am I not showing up as well for my guests? I'm going to explore it and I'm going to do it my way, not with a need to justify, but to experiment and progress. Um, I also thought that I needed to have things in place. I needed to have systems. I needed to have all the equipment and everything. Now, luckily, when I started these lives, I had some equipment. So I had this microphone. So I use this Rode microphone. If anyone's interested, I like it. There's a million different microphones, and you know, for me, it works. I'm sure there's better ones out there. And I had some lighting. And I picked that idea up from a course that I was doing. I also follow this guy, Ali Abdul, super useful. I don't follow everything that he says. And then I did this big lighting, and I realized along the way I needed to make it easy for me, really less friction as possible. So every time I was doing a live, I used to have to get this massive lighting rig set up. And because I do this from my apartment, I was like, well, like that takes time, and then that meant that I had to prep every time, and it was just I couldn't put that up, and then when I had to take it down, had I have worried about too much of that in the beginning, I wouldn't have started. That's just what I accepted, and I didn't know that I was going to do this for 6 months. I said to myself, and I was going to be accountable to doing it, and no one's showing up saying, Colin, you didn't do 2 a week. So I just showed up and started doing them, having conversations. And then I'd look back and go, oh, I looked a bit pasty or, whatever. Or, oh, that's a bit heavy lifting. And you know what? That made it fun for me because I wasn't trying to solve all my problems at once. I didn't know what problems I needed. I just started. And I've heard this advice many, many times, just start. And that's very inspirational. But what the hell do you start? I didn't know. And this brings me to a point that I don't think we really talk about that much. But when I was going through this, I had a career life coach called Marina, and we worked together once I was let go of my work, and she was very inspirational. She gave me so much guidance in creating the foundations of where I am today. So I don't know that she's currently taking on any more clients, but if anyone's interested, let me know. I can point you in her direction. Really, really inspirational. Really got me through some times when I was doing things and questioning things, mulling things over in my mind, and that became massive. But she took me through this personality test, and it's something that I hadn't seen before. It's not the Briggs Myers; it was much more in depth. And for the long time, I've been obsessed about business, and I would see all these people that were, doing things great. Tony Robbins, Alex Hormozy, smashing it in business. And I was like, oh, okay, that's who I needed to be. And through this personality test that she did with me, the way it works is there's three top three skills or strengths, the middle three, and the bottom three. And everyone's different. They're all going to have flavors of this and the different combinations. And what happened is one of these was orange, from what I remember, and it was basically, I can't even remember what it was, but effectively they're the type of people that are, go-getters, pioneers, will create money, will sell you, not sell you a course, but they're the ones going, look, I've done this, you need to do this. That's how you get on the track of being an A player. And I for the longest time wanted to be that person, or I found it very interesting to see these people. So I kind of wanted to emulate what they were doing. And when we actually did this skills or strengths personality test, what actually showed up was my number one strength was communication. And I didn't really land with that. The other one was logic, and I can't remember what the third one. But we spent some time around it. But the biggest frustration for me was that I wasn't one of these people that was going to make money. That wasn't my primary goal on this planet, to make money. And I didn't get angry with her. I think I got angry with the situation, because I thought, well, why not? Why not? But generally, if you looked at my YouTube history, I was following that sort of stuff. And I would see these videos and I'd get consumed by them and go, okay, yeah, I need to be this way. But that's not who I was. And having that visual representation, understanding, okay, and this, where it was, so like, if I can try to explain it. So you've got your top three strengths, the middle ones, middle three, and then the bottom three. So the middle three are maybe interests of yours, where you like to, take input from. And the bottom ones are effectively drainers. So where if you put any energy into these things, they're going to drain you very, very quickly. Now, the orange, which was the one in the middle, the first one in the middle, was about these high performers and being this. And I wanted so much to be like that. So I got angry at myself. And then I missed the point that actually I had a skill set, and it was communication. I think it was logic or building. I can't quite remember. I should go and dig it out. But effectively, I started leaning into those skills, not knowing what that actually meant. And I think coincidences, synchronicities, however you want to see it, allowed me to start doing those things. And then things led from there. And I no longer feel compelled to follow other people in that way. But if I do, I realize that's not me. And that saves me a lot of energy. It saves me from comparing against other people and going, oh yeah, and I like what they do. I like a ton of their stuff. That's great. And I can just go, yeah, that's interesting. Maybe I can bring that into my world. But I don't let that rule my decisions. And what that's allowed me to do is step away from thinking I need to be a certain way and just following my own path. And that is a very freeing experience. It just allows me just to try things and trust myself. And that in itself is something quite amazing. And I think you'll find that there's a lot of advice about people saying, okay, yeah, just follow your intuition, your path, etc. I didn't know what my path was. I didn't know what my voice was. I worked in corporate for 25 years. I started posting on LinkedIn, and I found that when I was posting on LinkedIn, I felt scared to step outside of that corporate box, to say anything that I truly wanted to. I'm not a I'm a conflict avoider in some ways, but I believe certain things, and oftentimes, when you leave the corporate world, in the corporate world, no one really says that you can't say things, but you feel that you have an obligation to the corporate world, the company that you're working in or whatever, that not to say anything. If I say outrageous, it's nothing's outrageous, but you feel that you have to fit into that box. And so stepping out of that feels very strange, very uncomfortable. Um, and again, with all of this, you don't wake up one day and go, "Oh yeah, I've mastered it. I know exactly who I am." That doesn't work that way. Or if it does for some people, it didn't for me. So it's just about taking these small little steps. So, you might see some of my posts become a bit more expressive of my own opinions, and, showing up and, putting myself on video and talking about things that are relevant to me. And I don't necessarily care what people in the corporate world think about me as much. And I think because of that, in the beginning, you think, oh well, maybe I'm going to need to go back to this corporate world where some bank is going to hire me. They're probably not. Maybe I'm burning those bridges. I'm not against those people. The corporate world gave me a great start. It gave me the experience and environment to understand. I don't really want to go back into that. Um, and I think there's a lot wrong with companies, management, structure, hierarchy, a whole load of things which I express now in my lives, and I feel comfortable with that because that's just my opinion. If people like it, that's great. I'm not trying to revolutionize anything, but I feel that people might agree with me, and if there's an idea or a concept that I express just through my knowledge, and people go, "Oh yeah, I'd like to try that." Maybe that might work in their company. Maybe you're a solopreneur or whatever, and you go, "Oh yeah, maybe I might try that." And so sharing those ideas without convincing anyone that I'm right, and tomorrow I might change my opinion, based on new facts. And trying to find your own voice is difficult. I'm 47 years old. I've followed all the rules that I think I needed to. And by doing that, I've often ignored who I was or saying the things that I wanted to because I didn't want to stand out, because that didn't feel safe. And I'm learning that it's okay, it's safe. My nervous system is okay to say things that maybe, I wouldn't about a year ago. And that makes it sound like, oh, I'm going to say something just ridiculous, and I'm not. The distance between where I was and where I am today feels like a mile away, but in reality, if you zoomed out, it's probably about that far. And it's just trusting in yourself, trusting in your voice, what you like. And there's going to be a ton of people that tell you what they think. So I'll give you a prime example. People have given me advice along the way that actually maybe I should cut down my lives, and do them like edited, and do them sort of 20 minutes, because that's much more consumable by people. And something told me inside that actually that wasn't right for me. And the advice came from a really good place from people I highly respect. Uh, but something wasn't okay. And normally I would have followed advice, but I just like, no, I think I like what I'm doing. And this comes down to a big part of everything. I enjoy what I do. I truly do. I I love getting to meet new people. That doesn't seem to be getting old. I just had a conversation with a lady, Diane, who we're going to do a live with in a few weeks. Um, that never gets old. And then being able to have a live and explore concepts and ideas, it doesn't get boring to me. It becomes more exciting. And it's about leaning into those things. And I think if it would become heavy in some way, then I would have stopped. And where it was before, going back, I don't know if all of this makes sense to people, but I hope it does. So thinking's bouncing around the place a bit. When I think back to the times before, I was like, oh, okay, you have to have all of these systems and processes set up so that once it all takes off, then you're in place. It's like, it's like this big machine. And none of that for me was actually, uh, it was actually a distraction. So I'd go, oh, I've got to set up this funnel. I need people to find me this website, all that stuff. The reality is, I've made so much more progress because I didn't do that. All I started with was LinkedIn. I don't use Sales Navigator. I don't use Premium. I just have the free service. Um, I use a system called Canbox that helps me manage my conversations and just be a bit more visible. I post every day as much as I can about my thoughts, reflections on things. Um, I've got a few other systems along the way. But I didn't have all those in place at the beginning. I just started small. And this goes back to my idea of, yeah, you got to get here and then work out what there and then basically work out where you want to go. And I've seen that a ton of times. And I was like, that was too overwhelming for me. And through frustration, I just started here, just started really small. And I just carried on day after day. And in this part is very difficult. It's showing up, sitting on my own. People that follow me or understand me understand this is my apartment. Some days I don't go outside. I try to work out every day to get my mind, from not focusing on the thing that I'm doing all the time and just think a bit differently. But there are moments where you go, what am I doing? No one's showing up. No one cares. And I've heard this before, but that's actually an amazing place to start because no one does care. No one is watching. And that period of time is where you get to experiment with stuff. And so it's quite a scary leap to say, I'm going to do a live, I'm going to interview people, going to have conversations, I'm going to put content out there. And there is this idea that if you do it, loads of people are watching. The reality is they're not. No one's watching, no one's paying attention. If it is, maybe it's your family and friends, and they're not doing it all the time. They might be supporting you, but that's it. And that's actually a great thing to have. We think that we want to go viral, we want it to be an overnight success. What the hell would we do with that? I don't actually want to go viral. I don't want huge followers. That's not something I'm after. I'd rather people follow me or connect with me because they like it or they can add something to my life, and we can have conversations, and it's more meaningful than anything. I don't need to go viral. What would I do with all of those people following me? I have no idea. And I think sometimes that can also be an overwhelming. We think, oh, if we do something, then it's going to go viral and I'm going to be a success, and the imposter syndrome pops up and all that. No, it doesn't need to be that way. Reality is it won't be that way. And if that helps alleviate some fears about doing things, trying it out, then amazing. Lean into that. Just try it. No one's watching. No one cares. I even think now that people aren't watching. They're not paying attention. And that's actually a nice place to work from because you get to be more of yourself. And then when people do pay attention, they've connected with you, not a performance version of yourself. You're not trying to be anyone else. You just found your voice and you're practicing. Now, if you'd have gone back 6, 7, 8 months, I wouldn't have known any of this. And if I would have told myself this, I think I would have overthought it. I would have just gone, okay. And I've heard a load of time, just start, just do it, take that first step. Yep, heard that. But it wasn't until I found the motivation to try something and then I experimented with that, and I just kept on going through those lonely days when no one was paying attention. And I did that because I actually enjoyed it. And I think that's a big part of this, is enjoying it. If it feels light and it feels good, then great. And if it doesn't, I find that I need to question that. Why does it feel heavy? Is it that I'm doing something I don't like? Can I make it into a fun thing? Can I change it? Is there a way to not do that thing? And a lot of times there'll be tons of people telling you, you have to do this and this and this. And the way you perceive that activity um, isn't actually the way you need to do it. I'll provide a nice example because it actually came up in a conversation I had this week. So a lot of the times, so the way it works for me is I connect with 20 people every day on LinkedIn. Now, that's not always the case. That's just an aspirational thing. I try to stick to that as much as possible. If I don't beat myself up. I just try and remind myself to do it. Now, along the way, there is this thought of, you've got to find your ideal client and you've got to find your ideal person. And oftentimes, so there's things about building your avatar, targeting the right people. The reality is, you don't know who your ideal client is, and you're going to make it up. And oftentimes, your ideal client is you, because you're building something that you want. So you're trying to find you out there, and that's like a needle in a haystack. Um, so when I first started, I would go onto LinkedIn and I would go onto my network and I would click onto someone's profile. I would read their profile, everything about them, and consume everything about them. And I'd be like, okay, like, and then I'll go, yeah, this isn't the right person. Then I'll do it again. Then I'll do it again, and I'd do that 20 times a day. I wouldn't even get to 20 because it was heavy. It was just like it was burdensome. It was I don't know. It was a pain. And so then something shifted, and I didn't want to play the volume game, but I didn't overthink it. I just looked at people's titles. I looked maybe if they were saying something about themselves, just in that my network, um, page on LinkedIn. I just started connecting with people, and then I have this system behind this CAN box that basically allows me to start talking to those people, and that was one of the greatest things for me. But people either didn't accept my requests or they didn't want to answer, but that was okay. And I kept on doing that. Had I have gone down the route of, looking for my ideal client, and I still don't know, I don't have an ideal client. And this is, I think, sometimes where we can get caught up in niches and defining what your niche is. And I've talked about this before, and there's a lady that's actually Beth, who I'm going to have a live with in a few weeks. She has this, so that her business is about helping people find their niche. But for me, I don't know what my niche is. And someone said to me the other day, your niche is you. And I was like, oh, okay. And that gave me some freedom. I was like, oh, okay. So I don't need to find my niche. I'm just this guy that's having lives 2 times a week and just doing that. And so then I don't go and target anyone specifically. I never enter into a conversation. And I think this is a very important point because it's come up with a few people that I'm connecting with and talking to, that we always think that we have to enter into a conversation to sell something to them, the product or service. And I was like that very much. I was like, my interest in connecting with this person is about them. My next thing is, how do I not manipulate the situation, but basically get them to buy into my product or service, especially when I was thinking about being a consultant for myself and trying to connect leaders with their people. And that is a big problem because it puts too much pressure on that conversation and it takes the genuine trust away immediately. So I don't know what happened. I don't know why I made this decision, but I just clicked on these people, and if they connected back and responded to a question that I'd put out there, and then I would start having a genuine conversation. And if that went nowhere, that was okay. And if it did, then I would just start talking to people. But I took the idea that I would always convert those people into a conversation, into a live, out of my head. And I can't remember a time or why I did this. And it really frees up things because you can show up in it with genuine curiosity. I don't connect with every single person now and go, oh yeah, this looks like a person that I'm definitely going to have a live with. Absolutely not. How would I know that from clicking on a button on LinkedIn? The way that people are on LinkedIn may tells you nothing about themselves. If they give you some information, yeah, you might have a starting point. You know nothing about them. And so to find out about them, you have to have a conversation. I don't know what their needs are. It's not an advertisement board. They might say, oh, yeah, I'm up for hire or I'm doing this or whatever. The reality is you need to go and be curious and talk to people. But I never think about selling the option of doing a live with people. The more I've done it, the more if I say I take a risk, sometimes just people pop out on the page to me. I'm just like, okay, you get a vibe from people, and you go, look, I'm just going to call it out there. I think you would be great to do a live. Would you like to do it? Sometimes they go, to be honest, they say yes because you do that. If you'd have asked me 6 months ago, I didn't know any of that. I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know what it felt like. I didn't know all of these things that you think that you need to know when you've got this target. Okay, I need to know all this. I need to have this system. I need to do this. No, I can only sit here and explain what I do now and something again that works for me. It might not work for other people. Everyone's business is different, who they want to speak to, how they want to do it. I'm not saying lives work for everyone because if you're not the sort of person that is comfortable being on camera, that's going to be some heavy lifting for you. Maybe there's other ways of connecting with people. So yeah, it's just working for me, and it's taken off. Yeah, great for me. It doesn't work for everyone, and don't take what you want from this. If it's just about connecting with people on LinkedIn, do that, but don't get fooled into the idea that you have to do things my way. That's not what I'm here to say. And so you don't know what you don't know. And there's a ton of people out there that will sell you on trying to do things. Okay, you need this system, this system, this system, this system. And it's very difficult. Let's take an example of what social media platform should I go on? This used to paralyze me in terms of, okay, yeah, I need to be across all these different platforms. And so I just picked one, LinkedIn. And then I was connected with a few people, and they're like, no, they wouldn't advise me, but they're doing really well, and they're on Facebook. And I'm like, oh, I've picked the wrong platform. Oh God, I'm just wasting my time. And the problem with all of picking the right platform, you never know. A lot of people advise me of being on Instagram, and I am on Instagram, and I say this to all my guests. I stream this. This is going out to Instagram. There is no one really following me on Instagram, probably a few family and friends and the connections along the way. But the reality is Instagram's not my platform. I'm just leveraging it as I have these lives and they just go out to these places, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Instagram is where I have all my connections. Is that right for you? I don't know. No one knows. It's just about sticking with one to understand, okay, does that work for you? And that's difficult because you feel like you're wasting time. You go, I'm not seeing any results. No one's coming back. No one's paying attention. Should I go over to this other platform? I don't know. It might be that the way you come across or the way that you want to be is better for Instagram. I don't know. I don't think anyone knows. Yeah, just find that. I thought years ago, oh, I'm just going to put videos out on YouTube. And I thought, oh yeah, I'm just going to put a video, people are going to love it and come. It doesn't work that way. There is an absolute vast ocean of videos. The chances of you getting put in front of someone that's actually going to like your content is really difficult. So I started on LinkedIn, and I just went, okay, LinkedIn is where I think maybe I'm going to connect people. It's just a way of the way that I can see people. I don't know what those ideal people are. I get an insight to people that might not want to have a conversation, might work for companies and therefore don't have the time or the capacity or even allowed to speak on a live about something. I have had a few people that work for companies that do come on and talk about something completely different, which I love. But it's going to be very difficult for me to understand that just by looking at a profile. But all of these things you work out along the way. You just take one foot in front of the other, lean into the things that you like, find out the things that are heavy for you, question why maybe they're heavy, what's causing that heaviness. Is it an insecurity in your side? Is it a block in some way? Does it trigger like some sort of insecurity? And if you can overcome that, great, and go and do that. Now, I've talked about this a number of times. I've been through therapy, and I think it's the greatest thing in the world. Do I think everyone needs to go through therapy? No, but I think that having someone that isn't inside your circle of family and friends that can help you along the way, be that a coach, be that a mentor or a therapist or whatever. There's so many different options out there, can be super helpful on your journey. Again, should I tell you who I used? No, I can tell you what worked for me. It might not work for you. But along the way, people come into your lives and you go, oh, okay, maybe that's the thing that I need. And sometimes that can work. And sometimes that can take you off into a direction where you're actually putting time and energy and maybe money. And that doesn't work. And I think not to not do those things, because I've done all of those, but when it starts not to work for you, or you see it's taking you away, or it's taking your energy or money or something that doesn't bring you closer to something that feels good, then you have to just say, oh, look, okay, maybe this is not for me, and sort of step away. And that can feel bad, because in these things you can find community and people to connect with, but you can connect with them outside of that community if there's people like that. But also there's people along the way that can help you, that you can't do it all on your own. I enjoy doing a lot of this on my own. There's a pleasure, and it's all mine. Sometimes it's like this little baby that's mine, and I enjoy it, and it's like perverse pleasure that, yeah, I'm enjoying it. But this guy, Pedro, one of the guests that came onto my live and we had an interview, we actually connected, and now he's mentoring me on sort of the podcast, things that I don't understand. But I've basically gone with him because he understood me. He saw me. It was a genuine connection. He wasn't trying to sell me on, okay, I've got all these products and services and just throw it down my face. He connected with me, and he genuinely sees me. And yeah, I'm not saying that he doesn't want to make money from what I'm doing. That's absolutely fine. That's how business is. But he's a genuine connection. We spoke yesterday, and it's great because that slice of time, just talking about ideas and things, and he's going to check out things. I've got to go and check out things and see how it works. You don't have to make these massive leaps or decisions, but going along the way, doors will open that you can't predict, you can't plan for. And you either need to walk through that and say, okay, let's see it's okay. And if it's not okay, walk back out the door. Sometimes easier said than done. Or just say, oh no, that door's not right for me right now. It can be a whole host of things. But I think there will be a million people out there, solicited advice, unsolicited advice, new systems, new things, new trends. But it comes down to you, who you are, what you kind of want to do with your life, how you want it to be built. My situation of being unemployed helped me start something. I'm not suggesting that you need to quit your job. It might be just something that you enjoy doing on the side. I have no idea that this is going to make me any money. Like I said to you before, not made a penny so far, but I'm really enjoying it. Things seem to be increasing. I'm getting a lot of feedback, and because of those things that are matching, I'm going to lean into it more, and I just really enjoy it. So why not? When I look back and I'm on my deathbed, I'll go, oh, okay, at least I went into that and I tried it, and not, oh, I regret it. But there are ways of doing all these things when you're in a business or you're working for someone else. And I've said this many times. There's a lot of people out there that would say, right, quit your job, not quit your job, but basically build your own business. And yes, on the surface, that sounds amazing. Yeah, have freedom, flexibility, everything. But just because you're good at a skill doesn't mean that you should be in business and that should be your business. Because doing what you're good at and making that into a business are completely different things. And I say that even in the point where I am now, I've not made any money. I don't know that I'm right for business. I don't know that I'm going to be successful. I absolutely hope that I do. But I'm also now coming to the realities, that dream of, create your business, go and retire, it doesn't work that way. You need to be very skillful and aware of what's going on in your life, how that actually works, and design it pretty much with as much intention as you can at the time, because ultimately this will change as you go along. And I was very conscious about deciding to go 3 times a week in lives, because I was wrestling with the idea, is this going to take me away from the type of lifestyle that I want? And I've made that decision, and you go, okay, but I can reverse it. And for now, it seems to work. But I haven't gone long enough to say, long term, does that work? Is my energy okay? What sacrifices do I need to make on the other side to do that? And do they match up with an input? Is it about visibility or is it about energy? If, like I said earlier, if my time with my guests, I'm not really present, then no, that's not worth the sacrifice. Because for me, what is really important is showing up and being interested in guests. And that is a genuine thing that I have. But if I've got no energy, then that intention is going to go away, and I need to be careful about that. But I don't think everyone should quit their job. I don't think everyone should start their own business. I don't think that, I don't know if I'm the right person to do that. It's going to work for me. If I could create any money, or I can create the sort of money that to live the life that funds this and can continue to do it, I have no idea. I am just going forward a little step at a time, seeing what doors open for me, having great conversations, leaning into that joy, being curious, having fun. And the weird paradox about this is, if you'd have asked me 10 years ago, this is exactly what I wanted. I wanted to get up, have a life that I wanted, have amazing conversations, build systems, build processes. And I've strangely got all of that. But when I've signed up for all these courses, that's kind of what they promised me. And I fell into that trap, and I was like, oh, okay. And I needed to put all those processes in place, all those things in place. And they never worked for me. And that's because you go this way and you've got to try and aim for that. This time, I've built really small. I've built at my own speed, with intention, questioning things along the way, being frustrated, being angry, being confused, trying new things, experimenting. But that's all fun. It's very fun. I get to do that every day, and that for me is amazing. Is that right for everyone? No. Will that bring me a financial future? I don't know. But if I'm enjoying it, hopefully people see that and we go from there. Anyway, I think that's enough from me today. If this lands with anyone, people are watching it, great. Feedback would be good. If there's any follow-up questions, anything, please let me know. I'm happy to do that. Again, I'm not a guru in anything. I'm just telling you what's worked for me. I'm not convincing you of anything. The message you need to take away is that your journey is your journey. What you want to do with your life, how you want to do it, if you want to start a business, not start a business, do this, be visible, etc. That's down for you to work out. My way is not your way. Find out what works for you. Does it bring you joy? Are you enjoying it? If not, why not? Is it something else that you're trying to chase in life? Are there people that can help you if you're stuck? And look around for things that way. So that's it for me. If there's anything else, there's some comments, and that's it. But yeah, no questions that I think I need to answer. But if you've got anything, follow up, find me on LinkedIn. I'm there. There's a YouTube channel as well, if that's how you're watching me. But that's it. Thank you if you bared with me at any point during this conversation. And if there's anything else you want from me, let me know. And I'll continue the lives next week. Okay, take care, everyone. Bye.